Hi, my name is Mitch Goldstein, and welcome to How to Be a Design Student. Today I want to talk about failure, and I specifically want to talk about failure and why it is useful and valuable and a necessary part of both education and creative practice in general. So just to give this some context, in our culture, we are sort of taught to win, right? We've all heard these phrases, winning isn't everything, it's the only thing. The person who dies with the most toys wins, right? And I think that people have been taught this their entire life, that the goal is to win, right? And so you approach your creative practice, you approach attending college, you approach it in the same way where you feel like you have to sort of win the project or you have to win college. Remember, failure is not an option, as we've been told about a million times. I think we really need to rethink failure. I think failure is actually both extremely valuable and extremely necessary, especially in your education. So I have a huge problem with that attitude. Especially while you're in school, but really any good creative practitioner, you are always trying to learn. You are trying to learn how to do new things. And because you are trying to do things that you don't know how to do, you're figuring out how to do them. And part of figuring stuff out is failing at them probably quite a bit. Failure is a necessary part of learning. Failure is how you learn. And so that makes failing both very useful and very needed. You kind of have to fail in order to get better at what you're doing. So I don't want to say the goal is to fail. I don't want anybody to fail, but you need to not be afraid of failure. You need to get over this idea that somehow if you failed, you have sort of ruined everything, because that's just not how this works. And the reason why is if you never fail, especially in school, you never get a bad grade, you never screw a project up, everything is always good. Honestly, I think you need to try a lot harder, because to me that says you are being very safe and you are being very comfortable. You are not taking any risks. You're staying right inside your lane and you're just kind of doing what you know how to do. You know it'll work out, and you're not trying things that are new, and you're not really expanding your practice. And I think that is really a huge, huge problem. I think that failure is a natural outcome of trying risky things in a good way. It's a good thing. When you take a risk and you try something new, failure is absolutely going to happen. And that is good. Failure means you are learning something. It means you are expanding your understanding of what it means to be an artist or a designer. It means that trying stuff that is maybe not working for you or not clicking together is a really great way to discover new ways of doing things. It is a natural and necessary part of learning. So I think a way to make failure really useful and really valuable for you is to not think of it as the end of something, but think of it as the start of the next thing. So instead of being like something didn't work, it failed, it's over, think of it as the place you kick off from to move to the next step. And this is a really useful way of thinking about failure, because what will happen is you will get places you could never go if you were just kind of staying safe and staying in your lane. I genuinely believe that in order to ever make really great, really interesting work that is really past where you are now, you have to make garbage. You have to make shit in order to make gold. There's just kind of no way around it. The only way you will expand past where you are at now is by trying stuff, taking risks, and sometimes those risks do not pay off. And so failure, I don't want you to fail, but you can use failure to your advantage. In order to grow and change, you must fail. There's just no way around it. And the good news, especially for those of you who are students, is that school is the absolute best possible place to make the worst work you have ever made. It's a wonderful place to suck at what you're doing, because you are surrounded by people, both students and teachers, who are all thinking about the same stuff you are. There are mechanisms of critique and feedback built into the space you're in when you're in school, and everybody, and this includes your teachers, are there to learn. And so making bad work at school is wonderful, because you can understand why it didn't work and what you could do to move forward. And lastly, I will say, and I said this in my last video about grades, which I will link up here, the risk of failing is well worth the reward that you get from what you learn by failing. So just as a quick reminder, if you are an undergraduate BFA student, you're probably doing 3 studio classes a semester. Each class you're probably doing 3, 4, or 5 projects times 8 semesters. You do the math, it's like 100 projects that you do in your undergrad career. And so that means like if you bork 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 projects, it honestly kind of doesn't really matter. It doesn't mean anything in the big picture. Yes, at the time it's very uncomfortable, and the catch with failure is that it always kind of feels pretty shitty when it happens. But once you can get past that, you realize that screwing up 1 or 2 projects, it doesn't really mean a whole lot in terms of your overall GPA. It doesn't actually matter that much. But what you can gain, what you can learn by trying something really risky and pushing it hard and dropping the ball at the end is so much worth what you can get versus just your GPA being whatever, a half a point different. So I really think that you should keep that in mind. The actual stakes of any single project you are doing in college, they're just not that big of a deal. So with that in mind, I really hope this helps you kind of rethink about failure a little bit and how you can kind of use it to your advantage. Thank you, and I will see you in the next video.